You consider yourself a good person. You avoid conflict. You compromise. You keep the peace.
You give your time, your energy, and your empathy to people who rarely return the favor. You have built your identity around doing the right thing, but you are not good. You are harmless.
In a world populated by manipulators, narcissists, and opportunists,
you consider yourself a good person. You avoid conflict. You compromise. You swallow your pride to keep the peace. You bite your tongue when you are disrespected, telling yourself that it is better to take the high road. You give your time, your energy, and your empathy to people who rarely return the favor, all because you want to be seen as reliable, kind, and agreeable. You have built your entire identity around being the person who does the right thing. But let me tell you a secret that society has spent your entire life trying to hide from you. You are not good. You are harmless. And in a world populated by manipulators, narcissists, and opportunists, being harmless is not a virtue. It is an invitation to be consumed. What if the reason you are constantly exhausted, overlooked, and taken advantage of is not because you are unlucky, but because your so-called goodness is actually a trauma response? A carefully constructed mask designed to protect you from rejection. You have been playing a rigged game, following rules created by people who never intended to play by them. You watch as the ruthless get promoted. You watch as the arrogant are desired. You watch as the selfish thrive while you, the good person, are left draining yourself to keep everything from falling apart. You tell yourself that karma will balance the scales. You tell yourself that one day, your suffering will be rewarded. It will not. The universe does not reward the passive. It rewards the bold. It rewards those who are willing to be dangerous. This is not a message about becoming a villain. It is a psychological autopsy of why the people you label as toxic or dangerous always seem to win, and why you always seem to lose. It is a descent into the darkest corners of human nature, inspired by the profound realizations of Carl Jung and the unfiltered reality of dark psychology. By the time this is over, you will understand that the very parts of yourself you have spent a lifetime burying, the parts you were told were ugly, selfish, and wrong, are the exact weapons you need to survive. If you cannot handle the truth about why your kindness is destroying you, walk away now. Keep playing the victim. But if you are tired of being prey, listen very closely. Since you were a child, you were subjected to a relentless psychological conditioning program. You were praised for being quiet. You were rewarded for being obedient. When you showed anger, you were punished. When you demanded what you wanted, you were called selfish. Slowly, systematically, the adults around you chipped away at your primal instincts. They taught you that in order to be loved, you had to be convenient. Carl Jung called the result of this conditioning the persona. The mask you wear to navigate the social world. For most people, the persona is a tool. But for you, the good person, the persona became your prison. You forgot that you were wearing a mask, and you started believing that this watered-down, castrated version of yourself was who you truly are. But human nature is not built on pure light. You were born with teeth. You were born with aggression, dominance, territoriality, and a raw instinct for self-preservation. These traits did not disappear just because your parents or your teachers told you they were bad. They simply went underground. They sank into what Jung called the shadow. The unconscious vault where you lock away everything that threatens your image of being a good person. Every time you felt a surge of rage but forced a smile, you fed the shadow. Every time you wanted to destroy someone who humiliated you but instead chose to forgive them, you fed the shadow. Your shadow is overflowing with unexpressed power. And because you refuse to access it, you are weak. This brings us to the fundamental difference between you and the dangerous people who always seem to win. Dangerous people do not have a fractured psyche. They have integrated their shadow. They are not paralyzed by guilt. They do not lose sleep worrying about whether they offended someone who stood in their way. They possess a terrifying clarity of purpose because they are not wasting 90% of their psychological energy trying to maintain the illusion of being nice. When a dangerous person wants something, their aggression, their ambition, and their absolute refusal to be a victim are aligned. They operate in the real world, the world of power dynamics, leverage, and boundaries, while you are operating in a fantasy world of fairness and moral superiority. You think your goodness is a shield. You think that if you are completely selfless, no one will have a reason to hurt you. This is a covert contract you made with the universe, and it is the most delusional contract in existence. Predatory people do not look at your kindness and feel gratitude. They look at your kindness and see a vulnerability to be exploited. A manipulator scans a room and immediately identifies the person who is terrified of conflict. They can smell your need for approval. They know that if they cross your boundaries, you will not strike back. Instead, you will rationalize their behavior, blame yourself, and try even harder to appease them. Your niceness is the blood in the water, and you are wondering why the sharks keep circling. To break this cycle, you must undergo a profound psychological paradigm shift. You must stop viewing the traits in your shadow as flaws and start viewing them as your ultimate arsenal. You have been deeply brainwashed into believing that anger is a negative emotion. Anger is not negative. Anger is the immune system of the human soul. When a virus enters your body, your immune system attacks it to keep you alive. When a psychological parasite enters your life, your anger flares up to tell you that your boundaries are being violated. But because you are a good person, you suppress that anger. You turn off your own immune system. You let the parasite feed. A dangerous person understands that their anger is a sacred signal. They do not let it control them in chaotic outbursts, but they do not suppress it either. They channel it into cold, calculated boundaries. When you integrate your anger, you stop being a victim of circumstance. You develop the capacity for a chilling ruthlessness when someone tries to harm you. Jordan Peterson, deeply influenced by Jungian psychology, stated that a harmless man is not a good man. A good man is a very dangerous man who has that danger under voluntary control. If you have no capacity for violence, whether physical, social, or psychological, you are not peaceful. You are simply incapable of fighting back. There is no morality in being defenseless. You also fear your own selfishness. You have been taught that putting yourself first is a sin. But look at the people who suffer the most in relationships and in the workplace. It is always the martyrs. The ones who bleed themselves dry to keep others warm. Absolute selflessness is a form of self-betrayal. Dangerous people know that self-preservation is the highest law of nature. They are fiercely protective of their time, their energy, and their mental space. They do not ask for permission to prioritize their own goals. When you reclaim your selfishness from the shadow, it transforms into radical self-respect. You finally realize that you are not responsible for managing the emotions of other adults. If someone is upset because you said no to them, that is their problem, not yours. And then there is the fear of arrogance. You strive to be humble. You downplay your achievements so you do not make others feel insecure. You shrink yourself so others can feel big. But false humility is just another form of lying. It signals to the world that you do not value yourself, and the world will quickly agree with you. The dangerous person owns their competence. They project a quiet, unshakable arrogance that repels manipulators. Narcissists do not target people who radiate absolute certainty in their own worth. They target the humble, the self-doubting, the ones who need external validation. Reclaiming a touch of arrogance from your shadow gives you the armor of intimidation. It tells the world that you are fully aware of your value and you will not accept a fraction less. Why is it so terrifying to embrace these traits? Why do you cling to your identity as the good, suffering martyr? Because of fear. Not just the fear of conflict, but an existential dread of identity collapse. If you are no longer the nice guy, the sweet girl, the reliable one who fixes everyone's problems, then who are you? You have built your entire social survival strategy around being harmless. The thought of letting go of that strategy feels like jumping out of an airplane without a parachute. You are terrified that if you show your teeth, everyone will abandon you. You are terrified that you will be rejected, hated, and left completely alone. But you must face a brutal truth right now. You are already alone. When you wear a mask of constant agreeableness, nobody actually loves you. They love the mask. They love how useful you are. They love the convenience of your lack of boundaries. You are surrounded by people, yet you feel deeply isolated because the real you, the chaotic, angry, ambitious, unapologetic you, has never been seen. The acceptance you have bought with your niceness is fake. It is conditional. The moment you stop being useful, the moment you say no, those same people who praised your goodness will turn on you. They will call you selfish, toxic, and difficult. And that is exactly what must happen. Carl Jung called the process of psychological integration individuation. It is not a peaceful journey of self-love and daily affirmations. It is a brutal, violent death of the false self. It requires you to consciously step into the fire of social disapproval. It requires you to disappoint people. It requires you to let them be angry at you, let them misunderstand you, and let them walk away. You cannot become whole while desperately clinging to the opinions of people who only want you to remain weak. The birth of your true, dangerous self requires the absolute destruction of the persona you have worn for so long. How do you begin this transformation? How do you forge the weapons of your shadow into everyday armor? It begins with the absolute cessation of your autopilot compliance. Tomorrow, when someone asks you for a favor that you do not want to do, you will feel the familiar rush of anxiety. Your conditioning will scream at you to say yes, to smile, to be helpful. In that exact moment, you must deploy the most terrifying weapon in the human arsenal. Silence. Do not immediately reply. Look them in the eyes and wait. 3 full seconds. Let the tension build. Let the social discomfort hang in the air. Good people rush to fill the silence because silence feels aggressive. Dangerous people own the silence. After 3 seconds, look at them and say a single word. No. Do not apologize. Do not invent a fake excuse about being busy. Do not soften the blow with a nervous laugh. Just no. If they push, if they ask why, you look at them with dead, emotionless eyes and say, because I do not want to. This is the integration of your dark side. You are reclaiming your sovereignty. The first time you do this, your heart will pound against your ribs. Your mind will tell you that you have committed an unforgivable sin. But underneath the panic, you will feel something else. A spark of pure, unadulterated power. You will realize that the sky did not fall. You did not die. And the person standing in front of you suddenly realizes that the rules of the game have changed. You must also deromanticize the concept of forgiveness. The modern self-help industry has fed you a lie that you must forgive everyone to heal. That holding on to anger is like drinking poison. This is a slave morality designed to keep you defenseless. When a toxic person betrays you, manipulates you, or humiliates you, forgiving them prematurely is an act of psychological suicide. It teaches your unconscious mind that your pain does not matter. It teaches the predator that there are no consequences for harming you. A dangerous person does not forgive until justice is served, or until they have leveraged the situation to ensure it never happens again. You are allowed to hold contempt for those who cross you. You are allowed to use that contempt as fuel to elevate yourself far beyond their reach. To become truly formidable, you must master the art of unpredictability. Good people are entirely predictable. They follow a script. Manipulators rely on this script to control you. They know which buttons to push to make you feel guilty, which strings to pull to make you over-explain yourself. You must rip up the script. When someone insults you disguised as a joke, do not offer the polite, self-deprecating chuckle they expect. Stop what you are doing. Turn your body entirely toward them, stare through their eyes, and in a flat, monotone voice, ask them to explain the joke. Make them dissect their own disrespect in real time. Watch them squirm. Watch them backpedal. You are no longer reacting, you are orchestrating. This transformation extends deeply into your personal relationships. Why are you constantly attracted to emotional vampires? Because your shadow contains the unacknowledged desire to be dominated, or the grandiose delusion that your unconditional love can fix a broken person. You play the savior because it is the only way your persona knows how to feel valuable. But a savior is just a victim in waiting. When you integrate your shadow, you lose the appetite for broken people. You stop feeling pity for those who refuse to take responsibility for their own lives. You develop a psychological ruthlessness that cuts off toxic attachments without a second thought. You no longer fear being the bad guy in someone else's story. If leaving a parasitic relationship makes you a villain in their eyes, you wear that title as a badge of honor. Let us look at the workplace, the ultimate arena of modern psychological warfare. The good employee is the one who works late, never complains, and waits patiently to be noticed. They believe that hard work speaks for itself. They are fools. The workplace is a political landscape driven by optics, leverage, and power. The dangerous employee, the one who rises to the top, knows this. They do not do the work of 3 people, they do the work of 1, but they ensure everyone knows their value. They are not afraid to take credit. They are not afraid to push back against unreasonable demands. When a colleague tries to throw them under the bus in a meeting, the dangerous person does not shrink and cry foul. They retaliate with surgical precision, using facts, cold logic, and an intimidating composure that makes the attacker look incompetent. They win because they are not hindered by the pathetic desire to be liked by everyone. They prefer to be respected. And respect is rooted in fear. If people do not fear the consequences of crossing you, they will never truly respect you. This is the dark truth of human psychology. We only treat with dignity those who have the power to cause us discomfort. Your integrated shadow is the source of that power. It is the implied threat that lies beneath your calm exterior. It is the subtle communication that says, I am polite by choice, not by necessity. I can be extremely unpleasant if you force my hand. Once you radiate this energy, you will find that you rarely have to fight. Predators are cowards by nature. They seek easy prey. When they sense that your shadow is awake, when they see the cold calculation in your eyes, they will move on to someone softer. As you walk this path, your life is going to become messy. People will resist the new you. Your family might say you have become cold. Your friends might accuse you of being arrogant. Your partner might complain that you are no longer the sweet, compliant person they fell in love with. Do not retreat. This resistance is the ultimate proof that the chains are breaking. The people who are angry about your newly formed boundaries are the exact people who were benefiting from you having none. Their anger is not a reflection of your failure, it is a confirmation of your success. Let them grieve the death of their favorite doormat. You are not responsible for their comfort. In this phase of the journey, you will experience a terrifying sense of void. The old identity has been burned to ashes, and the new identity is still forging in the fire. You will feel a deep, heavy solitude. This is the crucible of individuation. It is here, in the empty space where your anxiety and people-pleasing used to live, that true power is born. You will start to notice that the chronic fatigue that plagued you for years begins to lift. The unexplained physical pains, the tension in your jaw, the heaviness in your chest, they will dissolve. Why? Because you are no longer burning immense amounts of physical and emotional energy trying to keep the monster locked in the basement. You have opened the door. You have let the monster sit beside you. You have made a pact with your own darkness. You will begin to move through the world with a different gravitational pull. You will no longer enter a room wondering if the people inside will like you. You will enter a room wondering if you even like them. Your posture will change. Your voice will drop an octave. You will stop over-explaining yourself. You will give answers that are short, final, and require no validation. When you speak, people will listen because they will sense that every word is backed by an immovable internal structure. You will possess a dangerous magnetism. People are inherently drawn to those who are completely unapologetic about who they are. They are fascinated by individuals who are free from the shackles of societal guilt. Do not mistake this for sociopathy. A sociopath feels nothing and destroys blindly. A dangerous, integrated individual feels everything, but chooses how to act with absolute sovereignty. You will still love. In fact, you will love more deeply and fiercely than ever before, because your love is no longer a bargaining chip used to buy safety. Your kindness will finally mean something, because it is a gift given from a position of absolute power, not a reflex of weakness. You can be the most loyal friend, the most passionate lover, and the most dedicated creator, but beneath it all lies a dormant volcano. A capacity for absolute destruction if everything you hold dear is threatened. This is the end of the illusion. The world does not belong to the good. It belongs to the whole. And to be whole is to be terrifying to those who rely on your fragmentation. You have spent years running from the most powerful part of your psyche. You have let others define your morality, dictate your limits, and feast on your energy. That ends today. The version of you that survives the coming years is not the version that smiles and nods. It is the version that looks into the abyss of its own nature, embraces the shadows, and emerges with eyes that see through the manipulation of the world. The choice is yours. You can close this and go back to being the good, tired, suffering martyr. You can go back to letting toxic people drain your life force while you wait for a reward that will never come. Or you can finally open the vault. You can claim the anger, the selfishness, the pride, and the ruthlessness that are rightfully yours. You can forge them into a sword and carve your own path through the chaos. If you have made the choice, if you are finally ready to stop being prey and start being dangerous, claim it now. I want you to go down to the comments right now and type the words, "I am no longer prey." Do not just think it. Write it. Make it real. Make it the final signature on the death certificate of your weak, compliant self. And if you are ready to master the dark arts of human psychology, to see the strings that control the masses, and to learn how to never be manipulated again, subscribe to this channel. The truth is brutal, but it is the only thing that will set you free. We are just getting started. Welcome to the dark side of your own mind.